Happy holidays, folks, and welcome to Four Paws Lane over here in West Gloucester. We are at Cape Ann Animal for our special, it's always like the holiday, we always end the holiday season here at Animal Aid, Heather.
We do. And I don't know if that's just because we love being here so much, or if we know there'll be puppies and kittens and older dogs and older cats and all those things to love. And it's the holiday season. And we like that. I don't know.
We love it. So welcome back to Cape Ann Today Live, coming at you from Cape Ann Animal Aid. And right off the top, we are joined by Sunniva Buck. She's the executive director, a longtime executive director here at Animal Aid. It's great to see you again, Sunniva.
Good to see you both. Thank you, everybody, for joining in.
And who else do you have with you?
I have Kaylee with me today, and she is one of our puppies that is up for adoption right now. She is one of a litter of 8 who, when you look at them separately, you don't believe they're siblings, but they are.
Yeah, I saw them all out there playing. Yeah.
A big variety of sizes and colors in that litter.
Yeah.
So I've seen 2 litters upstairs, 2, like 8, and then what? The
litter
little
of
black 5.
Yep.
So what happens? How do you get litters here, and what does that take, and what's that process like?
Yeah, so we work with several different rescue partners in different parts of the country where the spay-neuter is not as effective as here. There's big population issues still. So we're able to help out and transport animals from there. So they do the sort of ground floor rescuing, reach out to us about animals they have that they think would be good candidates for adoption, and then we coordinate with them from there. They're transported up here either by truck, so vehicle drive up, or by plane. Sometimes they fly up depending on where they're coming from. We either pick up at the airport or they come sometimes straight to our door. Once they arrive, there's a whole process they go through. We have to isolate them for 48 hours. They have to be in separate, specially approved rooms by the Department of Ag for that. After their 48-hour window is over, our veterinarian, Dr. Beckett, does health exams, make sure everybody is free from contagious disease, and then they start the rest of their journey towards adoption, which includes updating any of their medical, doing their spay-neuter surgeries, evaluating their personalities, creating their little bios and pictures that you see on our website. So all of those pieces, putting fancy sweaters on them, all of these pieces help them find homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did Kaylee arrive in good condition?
Yeah.
Good.
She certainly did, and she's a little reserved right now, but if you saw her playing upstairs, she runs around with her siblings. And
I saw her playing, and she was the charmer of the whole group. And what was so amazing is she is acting so shy right now. I'm so sorry, Kaylee. But she could not, it was like, I love the people, and jumping up on the people, and I love you, and then running to her friends, her puppies, and saying, I love you too, and then running back to the person, I love you. I mean, she was just so affectionate with everybody. Yeah. She reminded me of someone we know.
Yeah. So
in
now,
my household.
If you're new to Cape Ann Today, especially the holiday edition at Animal Aid, this is how the show is going to end.
Heather takes home.
Heather takes home an adoptable. Yeah. So.
I know.
So, and there are plenty of adoptables right now. Definitely check our pet list, capeannanimalaid.org. You can see all about our adoption policies and procedures there. You can fill out an application online, and you can see all kinds of adorable guys that we have who are currently looking for homes.
Yeah.
And
really
that changes all the time. That page is updated with our adoption software. So new animals appear, and once they are in the process of being rehomed, they disappear from our website.
So, Sunniva, how has 2022 been?
It's been a very busy year. Yeah. It's been a good year for us. We've done, so far, we've completed just shy of 1,500 adoptions this year.
Wow.
So we'll anticipate that we'll reach that goal by the time December ends.
Our ear perked right up.
I know.
Yeah, she's
right?
like, what? She's like,
What?
am I included in that?
Exactly.
Thank you.
You're not going to have a forever home. But
We
These
typically
years.
have anywhere between around 99 animals in our care is sort of an average for a month. We also utilize foster homes, so that's included in that number. They're not all necessarily in our facility. Some of them are with our foster folks, which we're eternally grateful for. That's a very important role for those of you watching at home interested in helping out.
Yeah.
We're always loving fosters. We recently started a new program in 2022 too with a foster to adopt option. So it's particular animals that we select that are being overlooked for one reason or another. And that way somebody can foster them for a 2-week period to decide if they're going to be a good match for their household and their family.
Makes sense.
And that's been really successful. That's really opened the doors for a lot of animals. And sometimes it can be animals that have special needs, you know, special medical or behavioral need. But sometimes it's animals that just maybe don't show well in the shelter environment. They're just getting overlooked for one reason or another. And having that opportunity where somebody can kind of, they're not 100% sure, but they can try it at home. And if it doesn't work, it just gives both parties a little more information, gives us a little more information about how the animal did in a home environment, and so we can better match them in the future, and gives the people a little information too about what kind of pet is going to do best in their household. So it really is kind of a no harm, no foul sort of situation. So we've found that to be really successful. Most, I'd say over 90%, end up adopting, you know, but a couple don't, and some have then turned into some of our regular fosters too, just through that experience, have signed up to become fosters in another way.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, so one thing I want to talk about too are the older animals that oftentimes get overlooked. How often are there older adoptables here, and so what are you doing here to help facilitate a move into a forever home?
Yeah, so we always have a variety of population. We always have some adults in our care. We typically, not as many senior dogs, but we definitely usually have some senior kitties in our care too. We, you're looking at something, yeah. So we provide all of the same veterinary care for those older animals. We help feature them a little bit differently on our websites. Oh goodness, we're boring her.
I think it was a lot of play out in the yard earlier.
You know, and highlight them in different ways, usually using our social media and our newsletters and things like that. We provide, like I said, all of the same vetting for those guys. We do have reduced adoption fees for some of our senior pets, which also can help get them placed as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I saw a couple of really beautiful, large, fluffy cats upstairs.
Yeah, we have there's a bonded pair upstairs, and they're some of our seniors. They're old. Unfortunately, anybody over 6 is sort of considered senior, just because they do take a little bit longer to adopt. People sometimes are a little bit more hesitant. We like to remind people that, you know, cats live into their teens, and so do a lot of smaller dogs. And so 6 mean you still have 12 years with this pet, you know, and sometimes they're also, you know, they have maybe a little bit more manners than some of our younger guys. Sometimes they have more house experience, you know, so they're gonna sort of come with a different set of sort of ready to go kind of pet traits than some of your youngers will.
I see. So we are in the midst of the giving season,
Yes,
right?
we
And
are.
are there certain needs that that you're dealing with right now that the community can help with?
Yeah, so I like to use the Jurassic Park quote that we are like dealing with an amusement park and a zoo, and the computers aren't running yet, you know, kind of thing. There's always something, because we deal with live animals, you know. We have a facility, and then we have living creatures. So you know, we're constantly in flux and coming up with inventive ways of handling different situations. We recently had a cold with some of our cats, so we had to separate them. We had to work on adoptions in a slightly different way to make sure that the healthy animals could get adopted out and keep them separate from the sick guys. We recently, our water heater decided it was tired of working, and so we were having to replace that. You know, one of our heating units decided over the weekend it didn't want to work, and we have to call in folks to replace that. So we're always dealing with building maintenance as well as particular animals' needs. And so, you know, vetting expenses, building maintenance and repair, keeping the lights on, keeping the water hot for these guys, all of those things are what donations go to. So we definitely appreciate this time of year, and that general donation allows us to spend those funds where it's needed the most.
Oh, nice.
And you had a wonderfully generous donation experience through COVID, right? Where you were closed, but you were able to raise enough funds to put in the veterinary hospital, right?
Yeah. So, right. And that's the room we use now to do all of this in-house care for all of these guys, which made a huge difference. You know, and just the volume and our need. If you think we have on average 100 animals in our care, that's a lot of animals to rely on an external clinic to be able to see. You know, there's a lot of pressure on our local vets to be able to see all the animals that need to be seen. And so having our own clinic in inside this facility has made a huge difference. It's also less stressful for these guys. We don't have to move them anyplace. If they need, sick care, even some level of critical care, we can provide that right here. So thank you. Yes.
What was that? What was that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it must be just, you must be able to facilitate the whole process much more smoothly. I mean, you said that, I realize, but just more animals can be cared for and moved into their homes,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we're able to provide that care in a more timely manner too, when we're
Right.
not reliant on. There's still some things that we have to go to specialists and external, care for, absolutely. But we're able to do a lot more of it internally, which means that their shelter stay is shorter, and that's the goal. No matter how loving and enrichment and all of the things that we do here with these guys, it's not the same as a home.
Right.
And so
Right.
our goal is to have them not have to stay with us long term, for them to be able to go out and start bonding with their families as soon as possible. And having the in-house vet clinic definitely makes that doable.
I don't know if Kaylee's bonded with me yet.
Oh.
I'm trying.
You're
but
trying.
I don't think she is.
As soon as you hold her, Heather. we're
Yeah.
in
Would you
trouble.
like to hold her?
I would love to hold her. Yeah.
Oh,
But I don't know if
boy.
she's going to like it because she doesn't like to be held too much.
Oh.
Well,
Oh my
I
goodness,
don't
Kaylee.
think
Yeah,
she's.
now you're just sleepy.
I think
can
she's
tell.
okay with being held. I think
Yeah.
she's getting more comfortable
Yeah.
for
Oh
sure.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we also we added a behavior associate to our team this
Yeah.
year. So that's also a very exciting part. Nikki Petronio has joined our team from Every Dog, and she works with our dogs, helps to do evaluations, helps to do some training, can help with some post-adoption issues for pet, retention. So it's a very, as well as educational pieces, working with our volunteer team. So that's been a really, really exciting addition to our
Interesting.
team
Yeah,
as well.
I know you're squished, right? You're squished.
So,
Okay.
Suniva, looking towards 2023 and beyond, you're always having events, right? Are there
Yes.
more events you want to talk about, or
Yeah, I would love to.
Sure.
We have our winter ball, and that's an annual event we do every year. This year is extra special. It is our roaring 20th anniversary.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
we have a whole sort of roaring 20s theme going with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are very excited. We have 4 presenting sponsors this year. So we have Cape Ann Lobstermen, we have the Lynch family, we have Doctors Randall and Laura Stevens, and we have Tito's Vodka. And so we're
Not necessarily in
yeah,
that
so
order.
not necessarily in that order, right? So we're very excited about that. We still have sponsorship opportunities. Absolutely encourage local businesses if they'd like to help out. It's a great way. And you can reach out to Jennifer Dobson, our Director of Development. You can check our website. We have information there. And it also is an event that sells out usually pretty quickly. So we're encouraging people to keep their eye out. Tickets will be on sale. We hope mid-January is our goal right now, that you'll see that. And you can find that information on our website as we get closer to. So that's our big exciting event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know. Forget me for the rest of the show,
like,
Corey.
seriously, it's
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, I know.
It's already
It's
done.
really
Hit a
hard.
complete.
Yeah.
Sign on the dotted
I
line.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Suniva, it's been great catching up. We love being here, obviously.
We
You're
love
such
having
gracious
you.
host,
Yeah.
but the work you're doing is so it's unbelievable. I don't think people realize how far-reaching Animalade is, and the work you're doing for the community as well. So, but one thing I do want to talk about are the volunteers,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Huge.
So can we just talk about like that program and what it's like working with everybody in that fashion?
Yeah, so we have Jane Young is our volunteer and education manager, community outreach and education manager. And she works directly with our volunteers. She does a lot of recruitment with our volunteers. We have volunteers in the shelter working hands-on with our dogs and cats. We have volunteers helping with events. We do a lot of smaller community events. Some is just like meet and greet stuff. And we bring some of our dogs to like assisted living locations. Sometimes we have them at businesses. We've been doing bringing puppies for like sort of emotional staff relief kind of thing for different different businesses where the employees get a little chance to unwind and get some animal attention and affection. We have our foster program, which is different than our foster to adopt. It's fostering in general, with the intent is not to keep the pet, but to help place them and get them out of the shelter environment so they can show a little bit better. You can give more information about them. So that's a really big program that we're really excited about, and hoping we get more folks involved in that. So there's lots of different ways that volunteers help. We have a volunteer board of directors. We have volunteers that help, that maybe have some medical skills, things like that can help out with our veterinary team. So there's a wide range of ways that you can contribute. Absolutely. And we're very excited to have people. We have people come help do the landscaping, mowing the lawns and
I
helping
didn't even think
repair the
about that.
fences.
Yeah.
There's
Plowing
a-
snow
Mhm.
and landscape.
Yeah,
Right.
Extreme Truck and Auto are great. They volunteer and recruit some folks to
amazing.
come out and help keep our roads clean. I mean, so there's a lot of volunteer involvement in our community that keeps us going.
Mhm.
We're truly blessed. I mean, we really do have an incredible community of folks on Cape Ann who step forward. So
Yeah.
It's kind of an exceptional community in terms of animals, don't you think? That
Yeah.
are very supportive of animals.
I'm very
I think.
supportive of
Yeah,
animals. Yeah,
right.
we have a lot of animal lovers. We have a lot of people that want to be involved with what we're doing, and we
Mhm.
certainly welcome that.
Mhm.
And how about sort of donations of goods like
Mhm.
blankets and dog toys and those sorts of things? Are
Yeah.
you looking for those things?
So we do. Food is a big one. Wet pate cat and kitten food. We're always looking for that.
Oh,
That's
okay.
always
That's
going.
good to know.
Yeah. Training treats, like little small treats that we can use with the dogs and cats, are definitely useful. Your basic cleaning stuff, because that's where I say that the amusement park and the zoo, we, all of these guys, they need, cage cards. So there's printing materials that we do, and paper sleeves. And then there's dish sponges and dish soap and bleach for the floors and mop pads and paper towels and trash bags, all of those
Yeah, I
kind
don't really
of things.
consider that. When you think, yeah.
Yeah, we go through a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of cleaning that goes on, a lot of daily
Of
care
course,
that goes on
for sure.
for
And
all
it's so
of these.
clean here, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always. Yeah.
A little cluttered sometimes, but definitely
It's
clean.
very clean. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
ahead.
excuse me, but can people just drop things off here for you?
Yeah,
Is
so people are welcome to donate when we're open.
Mhm.
And the other thing too is we have a wish list on our website too that lets you know exactly what we can use and what we're taking now. Because there are some items that people think of that we can't always use here, like dishes. We typically have a surplus of dishes already. Things like pet stairs and baby gates and stuff, those are not things that we can always utilize in this environment. Larger plastic crates, things like that, are things that we can't utilize here. So we try to keep that list up to date so people know exactly what items they might have that they're looking to repurpose that we would love to have, and what items we just can't put to good use. So that's always as current as possible.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, so Sunniva, if people want to find Cape Ann Animal Aid or learn more about you and what you're all about, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, so they can check our website at capeannanimalaid.org, and they're also welcome to stop in and visit us here at Four Paws Lane in Gloucester.
Beautiful.
Great.
Well, thanks for spending some time with us
Yeah,
today. Do you
thanks
have
for-
to take Kaylee away now?
She
Can
can
she
Did you have to
stay
take
here?
Heather and
Yeah,
Kaylee
right,
away?
exactly.
Take them both up and walk
Exactly.
away.
Exactly. We'll just go for a little walk, Kaylee,
Yes.
right?
Well,
We'll
she
walk to my
probably
car.
will have to come away when
Just to pee or something.
our vet team comes out and shows off one of our other animals,
Oh, yeah.
Bernard.
Yeah.
Bernard
Oh,
Kingpin III.
Okay.
He's a very
Say
regal
no more.
kitty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I will let her hang out
Thank
here,
you,
and,
thank you.
and we'll swoop in and take her away when need
I will
be.
politely
All right.
let her go.
She
when
might
it's
need to go
time.
potty soon. She's doing a little bit of panting, so that might be her way of telling
We'll
us.
know.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, yeah, we definitely
right.
will know.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. Well, thanks
Thanks,
so much.
Sunniva.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having
Thank
us
you.
here again.
We love it
Awesome.
here.
Thank you. We
Yeah.
love
Yeah, we love
having you.
Sunniva. Sunniva Buck, she is the executive director here at Cape Ann Animal Aid. You're watching Cape Ann Today live from Four Paws Lane. We're over behind Beechbrook Cemetery in West Gloucester. We love to do this show right in the midst of the holiday craze, just because it's a great way to put a bow on the
Yeah.
end of the year here for
Yeah.
us. So
Yeah. And they're doing their end of year fundraising also. So
Yeah.
it's a little boost for them.
yeah, you can always go to capeandanimalade.org to learn more.
Yeah.
So, Nikki, you want to come on? Sure. Yeah, so this is Nikki Petronio. She is the behavior associate here
Hello. I
love
brought a
that.
at
bunch of
Animal Aid.
props.
I guess you did.
I
Nice
love
to
that
meet you.
term.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I was really interrupting saying I love the term behavioral associate. Is that-
Behavior associate. We all need one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I need a human one for myself too.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, so Nikki, so right off the top, what does your job entail? What are your duties here?
So that's a good question. So I'm actually a dog trainer as well, and also the behavior associate here. So what that means is we've been looking at modifying behavioral plans for it mostly targets either our long stay dogs or our dogs who are having a little bit of behavioral concerns. As much as the staff here all have the heart to make this the best place possible for the animals, it's still a shelter environment, which is inadvertently stressful, unfortunately. So our goal in the behavior department is really just to try and get that animal back to a neutral state where they're able to feel healthier on an emotional level. These are very intelligent animals, as anyone who's owned a dog has known how intuitive and intelligent and emotional they are. So they do, I would say probably the worst thing this is Orion in his PJs.
Doing a puppy swap. Yeah, here we go. All right, Kaylee, I'm sorry. We'll see you again soon, sweetie.
Do you want Ryan?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Sorry. Is Ryan the little one from that letter?
Orion, yes.
Orion.
Orion.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
He wanted
boy.
a bad spiked collar on, but we put on the PJs. Now he's like, don't look at me.
Oh, he is.
His whole litter are sweethearts. So
They are
for
so
the
cute.
little guys like him, where we don't really see, I'm usually using behavioral issues. That's a very general statement. But for the little guys, a lot of times they come up from transports from the South. None of them are much experienced in wearing even leashes and collars. So I mentioned that I'm a trainer. We really do a lot less what we would think as training. The sits and the stays. So you're not gonna so adopters know you don't adopt a perfectly trained animal.
Right, right.
As humans, it's lifelong learning. That's how I define training, is just teaching and learning. So for the little ones, we work on socializing, which is just a bunch of, it's kind of a big scary word, but letting them touch different surfaces with their feet, walking them to the end of the road and letting them see cars go by. Some of them come from rural areas where that is mind-blowing for them.
Right.
So just all sorts of things. Unfortunately, I think when we think of socializing, it comes with this idea of like pass the puppy around at a concert. We really don't want to overwhelm them either. So it's kind of a nice little balance. We always try to meet the dog where they're at. So he might be a little timid, but he might have a sibling who's very outgoing. So we always just meet the puppy where they're at. All of our training and behavior is force-free. So what that means is we use a lot of positive reinforcement to, again, help teach and learn. So what these are, my little props here, these are, I would call them enrichment toys, which I think that this is probably one of the most important things we can do for our dogs here and at home, if anyone has dogs. So the freezer is your friend. This is just a wet food sprinkled with some dry food and we freeze it. And what is the purpose of something like this? Anything that helps the dog engage into something. This will help a dog calm down. We have some of our dogs who are just very excited and they can't sit in a kennel for hours. And our volunteers are wonderful and get them out. But what do they do while they're in the kennel? We give them things like this. So
I can hold this up, Nick, if you want.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So they can focus on this for a while. Is
yeah, and
kind
it
of the point?
helps.
Is
It
that
helps them practice just calming down and settling. And yeah, it's something to focus on. I think of it almost like giving a kid a Lego set or a puzzle or a coloring book,
Yeah.
where it's great to let them run around and be dogs or be kids, but then sometimes it's like we need to practice the calm time too.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and so these are similar. This one, I won't push it around the floor because hot dogs will come out. But it's just treats and the food in a ball. And especially for our overzealous dogs, I love using stuff like this because it's interactive. It makes the dog's brain work. So again, instead of just sitting in his kennel, now he has something to engage with and do and think about, and it's hopefully entertaining to the dog. So anything like that, kind of similar to just a feeder ball.
So you keep them in their crate with them at certain
Sometimes.
times, or no?
Yes and no. That's a good question.
Okay.
So we try to, all of the dogs get out multiple times a day.
Yeah.
For enrichment specifically, a little bit of both. So one of the behavior mod plans we have is for our overexcited dogs, is again kind of a blanket statement. But the dogs who just really have a hard time settling, they might look like barking in their kennel or lunging.
Mm,
And this, unfortunately, is not a good display. When people come in and adopt a dog,
mm.
they see the one who's barking and throwing himself against the gate, and they're like, and what happens is we take those dogs out, we have volunteers bring them to off sites on the boulevard, on the beach, and we see a completely different animal.
Oh.
And so that's what I mean by the kennel stress, is just sometimes being in there, as much as we have volunteers and staff who are awesome and who are getting these dogs out and who love them. It's just the way it is. So during those times, to full circle back to your question, that was a long answer, is yes, some of them will have food toys like this for meals instead of a bowl. For someone who's smaller or a little less active, we will still use bowls. And then we'll also use these just for outings. Sometimes I'm very interactive with the dogs. A lot of times too, I sometimes just have emails to do. So I'll grab one of our excitable dogs and bring them down here and set up a bunch of stuff and just let them have at it. So I think about it as allowing the animal to decompress. This one I brought out as a snuffle mat. I can keep going on these, so tell me when to cut off.
So wait, what does this thing do?
So this, it looks like someone homemade this one. I don't know who to
Right.
give the credit to. But it looks like this is just like a rubber floor thing, so you don't
Right,
slip,
yeah.
with some felt. So this is a homemade one. We call these snuffle mats. You can go on Amazon and get really neat ones, or you can DIY, or you can go outside and use grass. So what it is, I have some cookies on me, of course, and we'll just take the food and just kind of spread it in here, and then the dog will have to sniff to get it all out. So this is good for a littler guy like that. I know
Yeah.
he's like, I'm sleeping right now.
Yeah,
Mm.
he's conked out, I think.
But again, sometimes we'll use it.
Not.
I'll take the dog's kibble and we'll go to a play yard and we'll sprinkle it in the grass. And now it's engaging the dog in sniffing, which is extraordinarily important on the training side of the world. I would get asked a lot, how do I stop my dog from sniffing on walks? I just want him to walk with me. And the behavioral answer should be allow your dog to sniff. So those don't always go hand in hand to what we see on TV with training, versus with actually what we're trying to do is again, get them back to a good emotional state.
Can I just ask, why is it important for them to sniff?
That's a
To
great question. I love this question. So dogs have about 300 million scent receptor cells, where humans have only about 5.
300 million versus 5?
Yeah, so
Wow.
they can actually go into a stadium and smell like a tablespoon of sugar. Where we can probably go into a teeny tiny room and smell something cooking on the stove. A dog can go into a stadium and be like, right, there's carrots in that, there's beef in that. Not literally, but they have the distinction. If you look on their noses, they actually have, where he has a little teeny nose, the little slits in the side of the nose is so dogs can sniff and breathe, where we kind of have one chamber. Alex will come in and correct all of my medical statements here, so don't quote me on these. But where the dog breathes in through his nostrils, the slits in the side let air come out, while all of the scent that he picked up will just go straight into that olfactory bulb, which is about 40 times larger than a human's olfactory bulb. So another fun
You're
fact.
doing that right
Yeah.
now, right?
So dogs really perceive a lot of the world through scent. So that's a big piece of it is, we're talking about a lot of food-related enrichment. We also do a lot of just taking the dog out. I say put him on a long line, a 20-foot leash, and just let him sniff. That's great with our overzealous dogs. We might think, okay, they need to just run nonstop. Running is great. Physical exercise is awesome. But mental exercise is, I would say, just as, if not more important. And that's what sniffing does for the dog, is it just allows them to pick up on the environment. A lot of times if they're nervous, they might feel safer after just getting to sniff the room. Sometimes it's just getting the dog, again, more to kind of a peaceful spot. When we think about, again, training in a shelter, there's a little bit less of, we might do some basic stuff, asking the dog to sit. One of the training pieces I love is asking the dog to hand target. So we make a little flight attendant point and we'll teach the dog to come and target his nose. And the purpose of that is for the timid dogs. So if they do, some of them don't want to approach you, they're nervous. And as a human, it's threatening to kind of come in over them. So we'll teach them to come to just touch and they'll come in and target. But again, that's more of the training piece. So we kind of bounce between again, the teaching and learning, and honestly, most of the job is just this stuff: is how do we mentally decompress these animals so they can go home and be at a good neutral state. Back in the training again with teaching and learning, we're not going to teach anything very successfully if they are in kind of a distraught or stressed out state. So that's why this stuff always comes first.
It's like DBT therapy for
Yeah.
human beings.
Yeah, a lot of it really
Yeah.
correlates. I actually think of a lot when we have our reactive dogs. That's an umbrella term for, I would say if we could pick some label words, nervous dogs or dogs that might look like they're lunging and barking. That's what we would probably call reactive. Typically, again, generally speaking, that's rooted in a place of discomfort or stress or fear. So training, the teaching and learning is only going to get you so far. Because if you think of how, if we think of even where it's Christmas season and Hanukkah season of going to the mall to get gifts and it's like everyone's around you. And I maybe I'm projecting, that might just be me.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you there.
But it's so stressful.
Yeah.
And then having someone be like, hey, can you look at this trigonometry paper? I would be like, what? Like, get that away. Even when I'm not stressed out, I can't do trig. So bad example, but kind of similar to our dogs is again, the getting them to a neutral, healthy behavioral state, a naturally biological state. If we compare to zoos, I don't want to talk over my segment, so yell at me if I am.
Oh,
No, you're
no,
fine.
you're good.
So
Can we just point
if
out, I
we-
don't think this one's too stressed.
Pretty chill.
What do you think?
He's like succumbed into his
He's
peach.
like
But
completely.
Nick, my
He's
question
available.
is, how your path to this line of work?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So
me
where do the
too.
love
That
of
is,
animals come from, or animal
Okay.
behavior?
yeah.
That's a good question too.
You know so much.
So I went to college for zoology. I'm like, I'm going to do wildlife. I went to school in the middle of nowhere in Maine. Loved it. And then I started actually in the zoo world, and that was my door to this, funny enough. So in the zoos,
What
we
zoos
would
did you work in?
use, I was at Zoo New England for a while. This was like circa, 2012. So I don't know if they were, but they're great, great, great program. They really care about those animals. And for the animals, for the black bears specifically, I'm thinking they always come to mind. If you go in during feeding time, they always have things like boxes with food in it that they have to shred open, or a giant PVC ball. You give a bear that and he's going to crush it, but like a giant PVC ball where the bear gets to whack it around and the food comes out. And this was a lot of what we did in zookeeping, and very much the same as what we do for our dogs, even though they're domestic animals. Is when we have wildlife in captivity, there's only so much, again, it's like a shelter environment. Those employees care so much about them. However, we need to keep the stress level down, just to be fair to the animal, to be humane. So when we see that pacing, that's typically a stress behavior. So again, what keepers will do at zoos, what we do with dogs here, is set up things like this in the enclosure, because in the wild, the bear's never going to go back to his den and have just a bowl of kibble waiting for him. And what do the bears do all day in the wild? They're opportunistic animals. So they hunt, they scavenge, they pull things apart, they might go fishing. They are unfortunately digging through trash barrels and getting in trouble. So same thing with our dogs. The world's population of dogs are not mostly American house pets. I don't quote me on this percentage, but I would say around 70 or 80% of the world's dogs are dump dogs, feral dogs, stray dogs. And their natural behaviors are going around and foraging for food, sniffing for food, sometimes hunting, tearing things apart. So those are all natural practices for the dogs. And that, again, I keep using the word healthy emotional state. That really is what it comes down to. I think of it as humans, self-care. I go home and take a bubble bath or whatever we do, go to yoga, get a massage. It's kind of self-care for our animals. So just in a way that even though we're thinking, okay, our dogs are domestic, these aren't wildlife in zoos, they still have the same exact genetic makeup as dogs in the wild do. I'm not talking about actual wild dogs. I mean our feral dogs. And so these are all natural behaviors for dogs to do. And if we're not allowing them to perform natural behaviors, that's when we see things like, okay, the dog shredded apart the couch. Why? Maybe he was bored. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe he was stressed. Or maybe you just have a puppy who thought the couch looks like it tasted good. So it could be any of those. So I totally rambled off on the zoo. After the zoo, I actually worked in the South for county animal control. we were out of the county shelter, so it was a pretty big area. It was Tennessee. I always joke that that was my favorite and least favorite job all at the same time. Because that was a lot more. We worked with law enforcement. We worked a lot of cruelty cases, dog fighting raids, things like that. So my responsibility was collecting evidence, bring it all into court. And sometimes, well, I won't go down that rabbit hole. So aside from that topic, that a lot of the dogs, I would say in the South, and I'm very much generalizing, but it's very different sheltering, at least in my experience, was in the South. We had a very big overpopulation, and we were like, let's send them all up north where they have more space for these animals. So it's interesting and kind of neat to be on the flip side and be like, okay, we have this transport from the Carolinas, because I was on that side of things where we're just doing the best we can to our facilities would fill. A lot of the shelters in the South are open doors, so they cannot. Someone brought in 27 cats in one day, and we could not say no, we can't take them. We legally had to. So that's why there's such a mass overpopulation in the South too. Unfortunately.
Where are these guys from? Do you know?
I want to say North Carolina.
Oh,
I'm like looking around for someone to correct Texas.
Texas. Oh, okay. Super
Sorry, you're
happy
a
bunch of
Texan.
puppies, and
God, they're so funny.
and they're so affectionate with people. Also, like I think both those two litters upstairs seem super
Oh my God,
adjusted.
they're so sweet.
Yeah,
It's a very fun job.
Oh, it's got to be so much
Believe
fun.
it. Yeah,
I don't
very
think
interesting, Nikki.
I haven't laughed so hard in a long time as watching those puppies up there.
I know, it's
They
so
are
entertaining.
So funny, and with people too. So comfortable with people.
Yeah, they're
already.
really sweethearts.
Yeah.
Very cool. But we'll let you get back to work.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
We need some training exercises later. I might be into that.
I'm like, if you want any hot dogs or cheese.
But no,
I think
Petroni.
this thing, this snuffle board, is that what you called it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
snuffle mat, yeah.
Snuffle mat.
I
That
like
Very
that.
cool.
right, I know.
Thanks for your time, Nick. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
so much.
Very
Fun.
cool, huh?
Really interesting work you're doing. Really interesting.
Behavior associate.
Yes, and
Put
some
that in
people
your
would call her a
card.
trainer, but I like the behavior associate
Yeah,
because
that-
she's doing that's real science she's working with.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, the good doctor is in.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Alex Beckett. He is the veterinarian here on staff at Four Paws Lane. Good to see you again, Alex.
Good
How
to
you
see
doing?
you guys.
And
I'm
Dr.
doing
Beckett,
great.
who's that out there?
That is Miss Leia.
Good.
She came to us from Georgia, I believe.
Oh.
She's a young lady that's enjoying a cookie right now,
Yeah.
but I'm sure she'll be available in just a moment if we want to bring her in.
She's such a happy one. That tail is just going. And
She doesn't know too many strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's real excited. Come here.
She seems super happy. Do you know Leia? Do you know Miss Leia? We don't even know this one's name, do we?
This was.
This is Orion.
Oh,
this is
Ryan.
Orion.
That's right.
Orion.
That's right.
This
And-
is Leia.
Oh, Leia, you're
Leia.
beautiful.
She's just having
You
a
are
good day
so
today.
beautiful. You
You
are
gonna sniff the microphone? Is
a
that
little
fine?
older than Orion.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yup. So both of these guys just had surgery in the last couple of days. So they
Oh, but you're doing so
they're doing great.
well. Yeah.
the hardest part, post-operatively with a lot of these young little healthy dogs is trying to keep them quiet
Oh,
after
yeah,
getting their
right.
surgery done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, they're
And
doing
you
really
seem
well.
so busy. So
She's a very busy lady. She's got a big schedule today.
Yeah, I can tell. I
She
can tell.
does.
The
What do
first
you
thing was
think,
to
sweetheart?
get yourself
Oh
in
my
this
goodness.
room so you could say hi to everybody, right?
I think.
So,
Yeah.
Alex, let us know once again
Yeah.
what your duties are and when sort of, your day-to-day operation here. What's a day like for you here?
Days can be variable and active,
Mm.
but basically my job here is to oversee the medical care of all of our animals in the shelter, all of the dogs and cats in the shelter. So that means doing quarantine exams when they come in from out of state, evaluating health exams when they come in from, if they're local. We provide any medications or surgical procedures that they might need, including spaying and neutering, but sometimes we'll get an animal that has a more severe health issue that we need to kind of work on.
When we were here last year, you had just done surgery on a tiny little kitten, and it was very, very scruffy and fluffy. You probably do so many of these, but it was a pretty serious surgery, and the kitten was about that big.
Yeah,
Do you remember that kitten? And it was doing
trying
so
to
well.
think.
You showed us a
I
before
think
and
it might
after
have been
picture.
either a good hernia or maybe an entropion. I'm not sure.
It was a
I'd have to
tiny
go
kitten.
back. There's
Yeah.
been a
I
few
think
kittens since
found
then.
in the streets, and it was eating away and like seeming really happy and healthy
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
when we saw it. But
Yeah, remember that we're here
you
for the
remember?
recovery for. Yep,
Yeah.
I do.
It was really impressive.
No, we
Yeah.
have it's funny because I'll speak to my colleagues who I went to school with, and they say, "Oh, don't you get bored just doing spays and neuters all day?" And that's definitely not the case.
Yeah.
You know, not long ago we had a cat who came in locally, which was nice. He had an interesting condition where his eyelids, there's too much tissue around his eyelids that caused the eyelid margins to roll into the eye, which caused the hairs to scratch the eye the whole time.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
And so we literally had to do a facelift for this guy
Wow.
and redo some facial surgery. So he's
That's
not
pretty
quite up
serious.
to he's not quite up to Joan Rivers looking, but
Yeah.
he's feeling better. He's
Yeah.
actually we have
Yeah.
him here today. We can see him if we want.
Oh.
And so, you know, I also, part of my job is to be available if anything happens in the shelter or if if any animal gets sick. The other thing that we've been kind of adding in lately is since there's a full-time vet team here, we've been able to provide some post-adoption care, follow-up care.
Oh,
so
nice.
Oh,
part
that's
of our
great.
adoption policy is in the first 2 weeks after you adopt a dog or a cat, if anything goes wrong, like a snotty nose or some diarrhea or any number of things, because it can be a bumpy road to kind of get adjusted to a new home.
Mhm.
You can call our office and we can see your pet. We can help you out. It's part of the sort of the deal because some of these subtle diseases can kind of pop up after the fact. Always your good girl. Yes.
Oh.
This is my support dog. This is great.
Yeah, yeah. Got
Um,
mine too.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been really great with the community outreach part of the practice as well, because while we do take a lot of dogs in from out of state, we also, our priority is also the local animal population. And part of that is the feral and homeless animal population. We definitely want to make sure that we can take care of those guys. But in the last year, we've started working with the Massachusetts Animal Fund, which is part of the Massachusetts state program, which folks who have needs for financial needs, but they still have their pets that need to have a spay or a neuter or something like that, they can call and get a certificate and we can provide those services.
That's great.
And it's been really great. It's been a great experience working with those folks.
Yeah.
I think we've already done 18 procedures for local folks in the local, and these are Gloucester folks. These are
Yeah.
local folks. You have to get it from your local animal.
So say again the procedure for someone who needs to, do they reach out to the state or to you guys?
They actually need to reach out to their local animal control officer.
Okay.
It's actually a lot easier to do it that way because the animal control officer is local. They're usually driving around town anyway.
Right.
Mhm.
And so, you know, reaching out to those folks either in Rockport or in Gloucester, and it's a very straightforward application.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and basic, any other kinds of care besides spay and neuter?
It is. If they need any vaccines, we can update those. And
Great.
if they need any additional care, like if they had like a hernia that needed to be repaired at the time of surgery, we can make allowances for that. And you know, we can provide some low cost services in addition for those kinds of things. So it's a really, really great program. I urge people to,
Yeah.
if they have that need, to reach out and use it, because it's important to have the animal population in the local area as healthy as possible.
Right.
That's part of our job.
Right.
Nikki was talking about the zoo, and I used to work at a zoo as well. I was joking with Suniva, the shelter's like the retirement home for folks that worked at a zoo.
Yeah.
But we used to really go with this idea of one health, where the human health, the animal health, and the environmental health are all connected so intricately that keeping our animal population healthy is the way to go.
Well, speaking of that, what about COVID and animals? I mean, I know so many people have wondered.
Sure.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
You know, it was an interesting opportunity to kind of study the patterns of COVID. I know that there have been reports of COVID in cats and reports of animals potentially transmitting COVID and things like that. Having said that, it doesn't appear that animals actively are a transmission factor. Having said that, humans are the one species I'm not allowed to work on or give advice on. So this is my opinion as a veterinarian, not
But
an
you've never
MD.
seen an animal that potentially had COVID.
Not in my practice.
Yeah.
I know folks in some specialty places, UC Davis and folks like that, they have seen some potential cases in cats. So I think it is
Mhm.
a good lesson in epidemiology for all of us and
Mhm.
disease transmission and things like that. I faithfully maintain that hand washing is one of the best medicines on the planet. Hi,
True.
Pumpkin.
Yeah.
You should go.
So, Alex, how much
Yeah.
of a luxury is it to have veterinary practice or component to a local shelter?
For me, it's the biggest luxury in the world because I'm perfectly happy to do this for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
I found a great practice for something I fiercely believe in. And but from the shelter as well. Oh, do we want to trade out? I hear that Kingpin is here,
Oh,
and we're just going to
Kingpin.
get these kids,
man
these
of the hour.
puppies, the man of the hour.
Yeah.
Thanks, Geneva. And I think
Okay,
I
I think
Orion.
little
Orion.
Orion's getting a little warm in his
He-
PJs.
He's so snuggly. Oh
He's
my
such a good
gosh.
boy.
He
Look
is
at that
such a
kid.
good boy, that one. Oh.
But you know,
But then there's Kingpin.
Allie, do you
Yeah.
want to bring Kingpin on over? He's a good boy. So this is our local. He was a local stray that was brought into us, and we noticed that his eyes had a really, really bad infection. Come here, handsome.
So he was a stray?
Uh-huh. Hi,
Oh my
Bubba.
Kingpin.
goodness.
His full name is Bernard Kingpin III.
Aha.
And as a stray, of course, you know who the first and junior are, right?
You know.
Yeah.
And so Kingpin was
Gosh.
brought to us. And whenever we have a stray kitty like this, we give them a health check when they first come in. We check them for a microchip and make sure, and then we put to make sure that they're not microchipped already.
Yeah.
We oh, there he goes.
Oh.
And
So
Ellie, do
he
you
has-
want to
he
go
has
grab him?
no
That's okay.
microchip?
So he now he's just hanging out with everybody.
Yeah.
He's such a ham sandwich. He just wants to talk to everybody. It's
That
hilarious.
is so funny.
So we check them for a microchip to make sure that they don't have any tags or microchips or anything like that. And then we put an ad in the paper for
I'll hold
a
him.
week. And just to make sure he's not somebody's cat that got out.
Right, of course.
And so
Particularly if
unfortunately,
he's so friendly.
he's such a sweet guy. What do you think,
Can I have
handsome?
you, Kingpin? He's or Bernard.
don't throw your back out. He's a
Yeah,
he's a
he's
big
not-
There's a lot of cats.
Small. He was finding some mice out there in the
He's
streets. right?
now he has been in the hospital for a little while. So this is the
Oh.
cat that actually needed that eye surgery that I was
Mhm.
talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he got
Wow.
his stitches out on Friday. That's why he's got bald patches all over his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's feeling much better, thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
so it's
amazing.
pretty great. And
So-
we were able to kind of do all those surgical procedures in house and kind of keep an eye on him. He's been hanging out in my office for a little while.
Very
So
cool.
what were the symptoms? How did you know that he had this eyelid trouble?
He had his eyes were squinted shut. He had lots of infectious material coming from his eyes, and he was just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And what you can see is the eyes literally the eyelids just literally roll into the eyes, and it
Mm.
scratches the cornea, which is that clear part of the outside of the eye,
Mm.
Mhm.
and really it's so unpleasant. And these guys feel so much better.
Yeah.
The surgery is a little bit
He's
of
gonna
a.
go. Is that all right?
That's totally
Okay,
fine.
all right.
He owns the place.
Yeah, I can
We
tell.
just live in his world.
I can tell.
Um,
What are you
but
thinking?
sometimes these procedures are a little bit delicate, and sometimes you need to be able to redo those procedures
Yeah.
Mm.
because when you're removing that eyelid tissue, it's not a great idea to take too much. It's harder to put back than to take away. And then all of a sudden, your cat has a permanently surprised look, and it's
Yeah,
terrible.
right. Hey.
So
Yeah.
that's
Aw.
another great advantage of having the vet clinic here, because otherwise we'd have to find a
goes the puppy.
veterinarian
Yeah.
Yeah.
to do the procedure. We'd have to schedule that. We'd
Oh,
have to wait.
yeah.
And so with the vet clinic here, the animals get access to care really quickly.
Unbelievable. Cats have 3 eyelids per.
Correct.
It's 3, right?
Yep, yep. Most, a lot of mammals, dogs, and cats will have 3 eyelids, top one, a bottom one, and that's what's called a nictitating membrane, which is this third eyelid which comes from the inside of the eye and just kind of acts like a windshield wiper.
Huh.
Mm.
In dogs and cats, it comes from the middle of the eye, and in birds, it comes from the outside of the eye. So birds will have it too.
Huh.
Hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What does it mean when a cat blinks at you like that?
The slow blink
Yeah.
is, from what I understand, a slow blink is a very sort of passive, I'm happy to see you kind of disarming behavior.
Mhm.
Now, you're going to want to double check with Nikki. I'm not the expert in this one. But, those sort of passive behaviors, we always try to slow blink at cats and try to calm them down.
Really?
They're funny. I tell people I've been working in the veterinary world for 25 years or so, and I've yet to meet a normal cat. There's no such thing as like a
I
normal
can
cat.
see that. Yeah.
Personality.
Yeah, they are all so
He's a
interesting.
funny guy.
Yeah.
So
You can see how comfortable he is. I mean, there is a puppy sitting out in that room, which interested him,
yeah,
but you can tell he's
He-
really comfortable
he
here.
was hanging out in our office because he needed quite a bit of post-operative care. You know,
Yeah.
those sutures around his eyelids were about the same thickness as a human hair, and they were really delicate. And so we
Mm.
kept him in our office, and he hung out with my dog, who I adopted over COVID.
Oh,
We all kind of ended up adopting animals over COVID.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
you know,
That's
it
great.
happens. That's one of the pitfalls of working here.
Yeah.
well,
But
I
Alison-
did that too.
Yeah, I'm always blown away by the how fast these animals recover from
Yeah.
from
right.
even a troubling surgery
Totally.
such as that, and they bounce
Totally.
back so quickly.
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, I'll have an animal under anesthesia and do a medical procedure on them, and an hour after they wake up, they're sort of like climbing the cage bars,
Mm.
begging for food,
Yeah.
and the resilience is amazing.
Well, is it
It's
difficult to diagose because they seem to have such a high pain threshold?
awesome. They do, and that's part of the hard part of my job. You know, I've never.
Mhm.
I tell folks I rarely get a straight answer out of a dog or a cat in English, and so it's really
If you
hard.
do, we're going to get a little
Oh
worried about
man,
that.
I'm gonna get so many PhDs. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's really hard, and that's why we look to the behavioral folks and the animal care folks that work with work with me here in the shelter, because I don't just sit in that office and wait for a sick animal to come to me. Our nursing staff is amazing, and our animal care folks who work in the kennel, they're really, really sharp at saying, "Hey, doc, you know, that cat's squinting at me today," and it's a whole team effort, and it's basically working like in a hospital or a zoo again,
Yeah.
where I have this population of animals that I need to keep healthy, and that's just so much fun.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's
that's
awesome.
awesome.
It
Well, we
really
appreciate your
is.
time and your work as always. It's
So
always cool catching up
Great
with
to
you.
talk to you guys. Thank you so
Fascinating
much.
conversation. Thank you so
Yeah.
All
much.
right, have a good day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Alex Beckett, the veterinarian here on staff
I
at Four
know,
Paws
I
Lane.
know. And that was such a revolutionary move to do the fundraising
That's
and
awesome.
to hire him, build the surgery out there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was great.
and just to think to how many animals you treat on a day-to-day basis, right? We're talking there could be up to 99 under the Animal Aid umbrella at any given moment here.
Right.
So
And also not having to send the animals out for any sort of treatment to the local veterinarians. Yeah.
and just a little more comforting, like they said, less travel.
Right.
You can be out amongst peers sooner than later, and you're surrounded by all this
Exactly.
love and care. So
yeah.
pretty
That's
cool.
traumatic.
Okay, who is next? Oh, Jane. So yeah, Jane Young is the Community Outreach and Education Manager here. Good to see you, Jane. Welcome back.
Thanks for coming back.
I have
And
one of our fosters with us. This is Jess Guest, one of our
Jess.
fantastic.
Hi, Jess.
Hello, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Shelter. And we brought with us Luna.
Luna is
is Leia's
beautiful.
sister. So we always
Oh.
talk
Yes.
about litters of puppies coming to the shelter. So we thought we'd bring her up to say hello.
She's a good-looking pup.
yeah, she's beautiful. Where did they come from, Luna?
These
and
guys are
Leia?
from Texas,
Hmm.
Oh,
which is where
right.
so many of our dogs come from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like the bigger dogs come from Texas. Is that right?
Things are bigger.
All
in Texas.
sizes.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
All sizes, but we
Yeah.
definitely see some big numbers, big number of puppies within the same litter. Big
Yeah.
10,
I
8
think
litter puppies.
you may have fostered the dog we had, Ruby, but Amalphus was her name. Does
No.
that mean no?
No.
You didn't.
No.
No.
No, but Jess has fostered a ton of dogs for us, so
Yeah.
definitely a big program of ours to talk about.
Yeah, and actually,
Foster
so
program.
just I want to ask you what it's like being a foster, right?
Yeah.
And so, where do love of animals come from? And obviously, you have like this. Love and abundance, right? If you're just
Well,
doing
we can
this,
turn down puppy snuggles.
yeah.
I know.
So yeah, my first foster was a fail, which I think is probably not all that abnormal. So
Right.
my dog was my first foster, our first foster, and we failed miserably. So she lives with us now.
Mhm.
Her name's Buttercup. She's great. And then we took like a year off after that to sort of adjust to being dog owners. And I counted before I came. I've had 8 since her over the course of the last year.
Oh gosh. So you got Buttercup about a year ago?
We
A
got
little more than a
Buttercup
year?
like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And then we took a year off, and over the course of the past year, we've had 8.
Hmm.
So yeah,
And
Well-
do you have Leia with?
I do not have Leia.
Luna? Oh, okay.
No, I
So
actually don't have
see.
any. I don't have any fosters right now.
Oh, okay.
It's tricky with the holidays, but but yeah, I have when I have them, I usually bring Buttercup to the shelter with me so that she can meet the potential pup and make sure that they get along okay. She gets along with everyone, but some of the puppies have been a little timid of her. Yeah. She's super playful and bigger than most of them. Well, bigger than most of them when we start. Sometimes they leave and they're bigger than her. But,
What do you think your role is as a foster
mom?
mom?
So, I mean, I think giving them a break from the shelter is part of it. I know I tend to get some of the ones who've been here for a little bit. So just giving them a little bit of a change of scenery, but also like giving them an opportunity to be in a home setting. So, like we're a family. So it's my husband and I. We have a 13-year-old. We've got two cats and a dog. So seeing how they interact with the other pets and taking them, doing family-like things with them. Seeing how they do eating together, taking walks, taking rides in the car, just different stuff like that. I mean, simple things like going up and down the stairs out back can be, most of them have to start by carrying them. They won't do the stairs by themselves. So just little things like that. So just getting them used to, being in a home, which is a little different than being at the shelter.
Yeah. So Jeff, how about, but is it bittersweet? How do you keep saying goodbye?
Yeah. So I won't lie. The first time, my son and I cried a lot. And the second time we cried a lot. Since then, it does get easier. I'm also fortunate that out of the 8 fosters that I didn't keep, 4 of them I still see fairly regularly.
Oh, nice.
So
that
that's kind of
helps.
cool.
Yeah.
They either went to friends or we became friends with the people who adopted them. And so I get updates. And sometimes, there was recently one that I wasn't in touch with, but they sent an update to the shelter, which they kindly shared with me. So it's nice to know kind of where they're at. We're not ready to be a 2-dog house. So usually by the time we leave, we're ready for the break.
One of us might be.
It's a lot. And
mean?
it's perpetual puppy,
Yeah.
they're usually not house trained when I get them. So we're doing lots of cleanup and getting them potty trained and house trained. And they're puppies, so they play a lot and then they sleep and then they pee. And so it's like having a
And so
baby.
the cycle
a little bit.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, I work hard for a little while and then I get a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Jane, do you know how many foster homes you have around here that you're working with regularly?
We have a lot, and our list goes up and down all the time. People's home life changes. Sometimes people go back to work, or they take a break from working, or they're in school. A lot of teachers like to foster over the summer. So our number goes up and down all the time. I think right now we have around 80 foster families that
wow.
are in the
Oh my
rotation.
gosh. Wow.
We have a lot of people who will take for holidays. We had a lot of people take animals home for Thanksgiving. We'll be looking to send a lot of our dogs into foster for Christmas and New Year's as well.
So the dogs that are in the house
In-house
right
now, just to reduce the number on the actual holidays, so
Yeah.
our staff that do have to come in don't have an overwhelming
Right.
animal load to take
Right.
care of.
Mm.
So we have fosters that do all kinds of lengths of time for us. We have some
Mhm.
fosters who do weekends, some fosters that will do long-term until they're adopted. So our program is definitely really flexible to people's needs and what
Right.
their availability
Well, I'd imagine
is
there must
too.
be emergency situations as well that we can help with.
You mean in the community?
Yeah, well, let's say a house fire or an owner passes or something like that.
So we're not set up to help with those kinds of situations. I think that would be amazing to be able to do in the future. Unfortunately, right now we're just not at a place to be able to do that.
Mm.
But when they come, if they are to come to us as a shelter animal, then yes.
Right. Amy,
Yeah.
that's a lot
Yeah.
to manage.
Yes,
That
it
is.
is, and,
So-
and they're all so great and so wonderful for taking them into their home
Yeah.
and adding that chaos to their house.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that's pretty incredible that you have found it in you to give them up again. So,
Yeah, I mean, well,
yeah.
it's like I said, you bring them in kind of knowing that that's the plan. So it's
Mhm.
definitely gotten easier as we've done it a couple times. And it's nice to know kind of what you're a part of. You're a part of kind of finding a perfect future for a family for them. I have one former foster who I run into at the dog park all the time,
Mhm.
and she literally knocks me down when she
Aw.
sees me. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what have you learned? What any specific things you've learned about specific dogs that's been interesting? Oh, this one really hates doors, or
There are some funny things the stairs always so many of them don't like the stairs, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you know where that
That's a
comes
common
from or
one
what
here,
it,
too.
but yeah, they just
Yeah.
don't
They're
like the
just new.
stairs.
yeah.
the TV is kind of funny. I had one dog who would bark at men on TV, not men in real life, but men on the TV. So that was kind of funny. Like we would sort of brace ourselves for that.
It's so two-dimensional. guys.
Yeah. Like feeding time can be funny. You know, some of them, you know, between my dog and the puppies too, like just, you know, keeping an eye on them at feeding time and who kind of gets a little bit food possessive and just learning about them that way. Watching them with my cats. The last foster we had was the only one who figured out like the gates didn't stop him. So we had our cats, we have a gate, so just so that they have a room to go to. They're fine with my dog, but when we have a foster, we put the gate up just so they have a place to escape to. And Loki would jump the gate. So the gate was not stopping him. So that was interesting. So yeah, they're all different. They all have different personalities. They all have different needs.
There's so much background information that we get from our fosters that we wouldn't get when the animals are here. Especially, I know sometimes they get a little comfortable once they're in the home after a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little shy when they get in, and after a week they're hellions running around and destroying everything. So all that, you know, just knowing how they do adjust to being in a home. This is not a home environment here. So we get so much valuable information.
The first couple of days, there's usually a lot of snuggles because they're like unsure and, you know, they're not really, it's different. They're getting used to it and they're like a little more timid. But usually after that, you start to see the personality comes out a little bit. They get comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it seems invaluable, the information that you could pass on to their
I mean, some of my favorite fosters are people who do have cats in the home and take in dogs, because that's something that, you know, we don't cat test all of our dogs here. We have people who have cats at home. I want to adopt a dog that's lived with cats. That kind of stuff is so great, that cross-species stuff, or people with dogs who foster cats. So those are some of my favorite kind of pairings.
So Jen, you must be busy all the time. Community outreach for Animal Aid, right? So what sort of balls are you always juggling?
Yeah, so I work really closely with our volunteers and our fosters, and then do a lot of community events. We've got some fun partnerships that we go out coordinating volunteers to take puppies out into the community, going to different businesses. We're doing a program with the Rockport Library called Rescue Readers, where we bring a puppy to the library and the kids can read to them, which is super fun. Yeah. So we're always looking for different ways to be out in the community, let people know that we're here, and especially, you know, to spark that interest in someone who's maybe never heard of us before. So you never know.
Very cool.
So how do people apply if you are open to it, to be foster parents?
Yeah, so our application is right on our website. If you go to our volunteer drop down, there's a tab for our foster program. It explains our foster program. There is an application that's very similar to our adoption application, asks a lot of the same questions, that we know what your household looks like, so we can pair you up with a good match for a foster pet. Once you're approved, we do a pretty short Zoom just to go over how the foster process works, how the adoption process works, and then you're ready to go. We do a lot of emailing. I'm sure Jess knows we're not shy about poking people and asking if they're available to take someone in. We almost always have a need, so we do a lot of reaching out to people that way.
Yeah. So Jess, what advice would you give to someone who's thinking of fostering? And then also, like, what are you getting out of being a foster?
Oh, we get so much out of it. I mean, we like the snuggles alone are like my favorite part. You know, they're puppies. They're usually puppies. I think I've only had one that was close to a year. Most of them are like between 2 and 4 months-ish. So they're up early. So I love my, like, you know, I'm not a morning person, but I do love my 5 a.m. puppy snuggles. You know, we get up to go to the bathroom and then we get to snuggle on the couch. I don't know. I would just say, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And, you know, being prepared to say goodbye from the beginning is, you know, if you're not planning to fail at fostering, being prepared to say goodbye is important. For you and for the puppy. Like I try to keep a little bit of a distance with them, just because I don't want it to be hard for them. But I think they adjust well. And you have something to say?
Yeah.
You can talk. Yeah, I mean, I think, especially if you're not sure, like for me, we started because we were, not all of us in the family were quite sure we were ready for a dog. So having the foster was a great opportunity for us to give it a try and bring a dog into the house and see how the dog did in the house. And so it was a good opportunity for us to sort of have that opportunity.
I do want to plug real quickly,
Sure.
just because we're talking about not wanting to give them up. We also do have a really great foster to adopt program where you don't have to give them up if they're a perfect fit. So a lot of times when we have dogs who've been with us for a while, it could be puppies. It's not always adults. Sometimes adults tend to take a little bit longer to get adopted, but we do sometimes have older, bigger puppies that can sit for a month or so, and we'll put them into our foster to adopt program so people can do a trial adoption. 2 weeks, no pressure. If after the 2 weeks you decide you can't see your life without them, you can choose to keep them. So that's a great program that we just launched earlier this year too. And it's a great way to try it out and see how it goes. If you are on the fence about adopting, you're not sure if a puppy is going to be too much work for you. I mean, come on, once they're in your house, it's going to be hard to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Once you get that potty training on the way, that's definitely like a lot of investment into them. But,
Yeah, exactly.
great way to make sure everybody's on board too. So
Yeah.
definitely want to plug that, and we share all those on our website as well under our Foster to Adopt.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if people want to learn more, capeandanimalmaid.org.
Yep.
Yeah.
/foster is where all our foster stuff is.
Yeah. Is there a greater need around this time of year too, do you find?
For fostering, definitely. People are busy. People are going away for holidays. So definitely for fostering we do. Volunteering, we need volunteers all the time. Our volunteers are amazing. As you all know, it's freezing outside right now. We have volunteers outside with the dogs. The dogs
Yeah.
still need to go out. So the fact that we have people who are with us year round and willing to be out there in the cold, we owe everything to our volunteers.
Yeah.
Lots of support from the shelter too. So you're
Yeah.
not in it by yourself. You know, if you're, I mean, I've had puppies I've had to email Dr. Beckett about like just questions or whatever, and the shelter's been great. They're always on top of getting back to you. So
There you go. Well said,
Yeah.
Jess. Well, Jess and Jane, thanks so much
Yeah,
for your
thanks so
time.
much
We
for
appreciate what you
having
do.
us.
It's, I mean, that's pretty cool, Jess.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
Awesome. So
Yeah,
thank you
good
so
job
much.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you
you.
guys.
Right. All right. And bye, Luna.
Say
Bye.
goodbye.
Bye, Luna.
Bye. I hope
We'll
to
see
see
you.
you soon.
You
Oh
get to
my
run. You
goodness.
get to run around now.
Yeah.
Thank you,
All right,
ladies.
bye, everybody.
Oh boy. So now what's going to happen?
I don't know.
Now we
I have to really, and I have to think about this
Yeah.
because, as Jess said, I'm not ready for a 2-dog household, but she's really cute.
Yeah, and yeah, this is the time we have 1620 Studios. As we wrap things up, then the crew, we go and we check out the cats, then we check out the puppies, we see if there are any adult dogs, and it turns into a thing every year. We're
Yeah,
here.
it
Yeah.
does, but
But-
it's fun.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. And I love
What a
being here
wonderful-
too.
Yeah, great group of people.
What an
and-
organization, huh?
I know, it is really, they are doing the work.
And to see how far they've come from being that little place down on Main Street and now to have this campus here. We have to come back in the warmer
Spring.
weather season to just be outside with the
Yeah.
dogs. It's all, they have a great play area out there too. So
Yeah,
we'll work on that.
we will.
Yeah.
We will.
Okay, folks. So we want to wish everyone happy holidays and have a great, happy and safe New Year as well. We want to thank our today's guests, Sunniva Buck, the executive director here, and Nikki Petronio, the behavior associate. Right. Of course, we just met Jane Young, and I believe that was Jess Guest, right? Was fostering. That's
Yep.
community outreach and education manager, and of course, Dr. Alex Beckett. He's director of shelter medicine here too. What a luxury! We talked about that as well. So, have to thank our crew as always. They're here for us like clockwork. Our camera, Mike Dennis. Camera, Alec Palmer. Floor manager, Alana Horn. Our production manager, Tyler Harinson. A technical director, Matt McMakin, digital director, Matt Moore, operations coordinator, Emily Games, and executive director, Eric Archer. We do not know when our next show is going to be. It's going to be sometime after the new year. We have a couple things
Ah.
percolating. We're going to be doing a lot of work for the Gloucester 400. They have a ton of events happening come January, so we can't wait to get out there and do this again for you all sooner than later.
Well, happy holidays, Corey.
Yeah,
my
same for you,
friend.
Heather.
Yeah.
We're going to go celebrate right now.
We are.
I
Yeah,
think.
this is our Christmas party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there
Holiday
may
party.
be a 4 legs in the car or 8 legs. We don't know.
We'll,
but that's-
we'll see. Yeah, how much,
Yeah.
what direction this party goes in.
Yeah.
exactly.
There we go. So, hey, thanks for all of your eyes and ears throughout 2022. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to get back out there and do more Cape Ann Today for you ASAP. So once again, happy holidays and happy New Year. We will see you in 2023.